Major update on Simon Ekpa's case. Appeal court orders fresh hearing. September 13, 2025. Helsinki, a turning point. On September 13, 2025, a dramatic twist emerged in the legal battle of Simon Ekpa, the Biafran Prime Minister currently serving a prison sentence in Finland. For the first time, the Finnish appeal court announced its plan to review the case afresh, setting aside earlier trial records and opening the door to a comprehensive re-examination. This decision is widely regarded as a potential game-changer, one that could alter the trajectory of Ekpa's 6-year sentence and reshape regional and international reaction to Nigeria's interest in the case. Before this new ruling, Nigeria's judiciary had expressed intentions to seek Simon Ekpa's extradition after his prison term in Finland. On September 11, 2025, Nigerian authorities stated their readiness to prosecute him at home, citing his alleged role in destabilizing activities within the country. The plan was to transfer Ekpa once he neared the end of his Finnish sentence. However, today's developments in Finland have disrupted that roadmap, raising uncertainty about Nigeria's strategy. The appeal court's fresh directive. The appeal court declared that all evidence from the Lower Pyramid District Court must be resubmitted and re-examined. This includes testimonies, documents, and intelligence reports, particularly those linked to Southeast Nigeria's security challenges. Unlike a typical appeal, which reviews written submissions, the Finnish judges want to hear witnesses testify again under oath. This radical step indicates skepticism about the reliability of previous findings and opens the case to new scrutiny. Witnesses were called for re-examination. One of the most striking decisions is the mandatory recall of all key witnesses. Individuals who testified in the earlier trial will be required to appear again, with all expenses covered, and undergo cross-examination. This gives Ekpa's defense team, led by lawyer Kumarez, a fresh opportunity to challenge inconsistencies and probe credibility. For the first time, the defense can test the strength of testimonies directly rather than rely on transcripts. Page 5. The prosecution in dilemma. The prosecuting counsel is reportedly reconsidering his role. Fatigue and the daunting scope of the appeal may prompt him to step aside, opening the door for a replacement. If a new prosecutor is appointed, the case could shift further in Ekpa's favor, as the successor would likely rely only on independently verifiable facts rather than inherited arguments. This scenario could weaken the state's case and create new opportunities for the defense. Page 6. Strict timetable for proceedings. The appeal court has emphasized speed and precision. Hearings will be held 4 times a week, with up to 16 sessions within a month. Judges made it clear they do not intend to drag the matter for years. If Ekpa's lawyers can convincingly prove his innocence early, the case could conclude in as little as 2 weeks. Such a condensed schedule is rare in Finnish courts, highlighting the gravity and urgency attached to this matter. Page 7. Forensic standards for evidence. The court also issued new rules. All evidence must undergo forensic verification. Video and audio recordings must be accompanied by metadata, timestamps, locations, and coordinates. Documents must be subjected to independent analysis by neutral experts unaffiliated with either the government or the defense. This rigorous approach underscores the court's commitment to fairness and transparency, potentially undermining materials sourced from Nigerian investigations if they lack credibility. Page 8. Growing international awareness. Parallel to courtroom events, awareness campaigns surrounding Simon Ekpa's case are gaining momentum. Prominent African human rights activist Dr. David Matsanga has embarked on a series of interviews across Nigerian and international media, spotlighting Ekpa's trial and linking it to broader conversations on governance and unity in Nigeria. This increased visibility is shaping public opinion and putting pressure on both Finnish and Nigerian authorities. Page 9. Implications for Simon Ekpa and the Biafra struggle. The fresh hearing is widely seen as a lifeline for Ekpa. If the appeal exposes weaknesses in the prosecution's case, he could secure an early release. Beyond his personal fate, the outcome has implications for the United States of Biafra (USB) movement, which continues to seek legal recognition. A favorable verdict would embolden supporters, strengthen advocacy efforts, and potentially alter the political landscape in both Nigeria and the wider African region. Page 10. Conclusion. What lies ahead? As of today, Simon Ekpa's legal future is hanging in the balance. With the appeal court opting for a fast-tracked, evidence-driven trial, the coming weeks will be decisive. The possibility of an early release is real, though not guaranteed, and Nigeria's attempts to assert jurisdiction may falter in light of Finland's independence. What is certain is that September 13, 2025, marks a turning point in a case that has already captured the attention of Africa and beyond. What is certain is that September 13, 2025, marks a turning point in a case that has already captured the attention of Africa and beyond. Page 11. Regional reactions across Africa. The ripple effect of September 13th's ruling has been immediate. Across Africa, political commentators, human rights groups, and community leaders are analyzing what this means not just for Simon Ekpa, but also for the precedent it sets in international law. In countries like Kenya, Ghana, and South Africa, where legal independence and human rights advocacy remain critical, observers see Finland's approach as a model of judicial transparency. The decision to rehear the case from scratch is viewed as a bold rejection of potentially biased or incomplete foreign evidence. Page 12. Nigerian government under pressure. For Abuja, this development complicates matters significantly. Having already signaled its intent to prosecute Ekpa after his finished term, Nigeria now faces growing international scrutiny. The possibility that Finnish courts may expose weaknesses in the Nigerian investigative process could undermine the government's credibility. Political analysts note that if Nigeria insists on pursuing the case, it will need stronger, verifiable evidence to avoid accusations of political persecution. Page 13. The role of the diaspora. Nigerians in the diaspora are also closely watching. From Europe to North America, communities sympathetic to the Biafra struggle are mobilizing through social media, advocacy groups, and public demonstrations. For many, the appeal court's decision represents hope that Ekpa may receive a fairer trial abroad than he would at home. These movements are amplifying global awareness, ensuring that the case remains in headlines far beyond Finland. Page 14. Media as a strategic tool. The involvement of Dr. David Matsanga has given the case renewed visibility. His ability to secure airtime across multiple Nigerian media platforms, ranging from major television channels to influential radio stations, has kept Simon Ekpa's name in public discourse. Analysts argue that media exposure has become one of the defense team's strongest indirect assets. The more the case is discussed, the harder it becomes for governments to quietly maneuver without public accountability. Page 15. The stakes for Finland's judiciary. Internally, Finland's judiciary is also under the spotlight. By committing to a transparent, fast-tracked, and forensic-driven review, the appeal court is reinforcing its reputation as a guardian of justice. But this also raises the stakes. The court's credibility depends on handling the case without political interference, while ensuring both the prosecution and defense receive equal treatment. Any misstep could spark controversy both domestically and abroad. Page 16. The human side of Simon Ekpa. While legal strategies dominate headlines, the human dimension of Simon's situation is often overlooked. Having spent months in Finnish detention, the psychological strain has been immense. Close allies say he remains resolute, but is acutely aware of the risks ahead. For supporters, his resilience has turned him into a symbol, not only of the Biafra struggle but also of endurance in the face of international legal challenges. Page 17. Possible scenarios moving forward. Several outcomes now lie on the table. If the defense proves its case swiftly, Ekpa could be released within weeks, turning him into a political figure of even greater influence. Alternatively, if the prosecution reorganizes effectively, the 6-year sentence could be reaffirmed. A third scenario is more complex: prolonged hearings that draw in new political considerations, including EU-level oversight, especially if questions arise about human rights. Page 18. Implications for the USB movement. The broader struggle for the United States of Biafra, USB, is deeply intertwined with Ekpa's fate. A favorable ruling would energize USB advocates, giving legitimacy to calls for a peaceful and legal pathway to self-determination. Conversely, an unfavorable ruling could stall momentum, though it may also galvanize grassroots activists who see the trial as evidence of systemic suppression. Either way, the case has become inseparable from the USB's political narrative. Page 19. The international community's watchful eye. European human rights organizations, alongside UN-affiliated bodies, are beginning to take notice. The fairness of Simon Ekpa's trial will be seen as a test of Europe's commitment to impartial justice in politically sensitive cases. Diplomatic circles suggest that the EU may intervene if irregularities surface, particularly given Nigeria's vested interest. This international dimension underscores the trial's global weight. Page 20. Closing outlook. As the calendar moves beyond September 13, 2025, Simon Ekpa's case is no longer just about one man's freedom. It is about judicial integrity, international diplomacy, and the clash between state interests and individual rights. Whether Ekpa walks free, continues his sentence, or faces fresh charges in Nigeria, the decisions made in Finland will echo across Africa and beyond. The coming weeks promise not only legal drama but also a defining moment for justice in the 21st century. Epilogue. Beyond the courtroom. The coming weeks promise not only legal drama but also a defining moment for justice in the 21st century. What began as a local prosecution has evolved into a global case study on how nations, courts, and communities respond to dissent in an interconnected world. At its core, the trial of Simon Ekpa now symbolizes far more than a verdict. It represents the tension between state sovereignty and human rights, between political authority and freedom of expression, and between national unity and self-determination movements. For Africa, the outcome will help define how governments manage separatist ideologies in a digital age where one voice can influence millions across borders. For Europe, it tests the continent's claim to uphold fairness even when the cases before its courts involve explosive political undertones. And for Nigeria, it raises the difficult question of whether justice can truly be pursued without eroding democratic credibility. No matter the final ruling, Simon Ekpa's case has already entered history as a watershed trial. It has shaken diplomatic corridors, ignited grassroots activism, and forced institutions to re-examine how far they are willing to go in the pursuit of order versus the defense of liberty. As the world watches, the story is far from over. What happens in the Helsinki Appeal Court may very well determine not just one man's fate, but also the direction of African political struggles in the decades ahead. Final reflection. What happens in the Helsinki Appeal Court may very well determine not just one man's fate, but also the direction of African political struggles in the decades ahead. A ruling in Simon Ekpa's favor could embolden movements across the continent, giving separatist and reformist groups a sense that international courts can offer refuge when national governments fail them. A ruling against him, however, might serve as a chilling precedent, reinforcing state authority over dissent and narrowing the space for self-determination campaigns. Either way, the reverberations will not stop in Finland. They will echo through the streets of Aba and Onitsha, into the halls of Abuja, across African Union summits in Addis Ababa, and through diplomatic discussions in Brussels and Geneva. The case has already transcended borders. The verdict will etch itself into the political memory of generations. As the trial advances, the world waits. Each hearing, each piece of evidence, and each argument is now a building block in a larger story, one that could reshape how justice, sovereignty, and freedom are balanced in our time. For Simon Ekpa, it is a battle for liberty. For Africa, it is a test of political destiny. For the world, it is a reminder that justice is never confined to one courtroom. It is a struggle that defines humanity itself.